What is going on, guys? I'm out here in the garage. I'm just at my garage fridge here. I'm going to pull a bunch of this meat out from last weekend's hunt. Unfortunately, I did not harvest any of it, but my dad and our friend got some, and I'm going to grind it up for burger for them. This is going to be the first episode of what I'm going to call After the Hunt, where I'm going to go through the full DIY process of processing your venison or whatever your harvest is, grinding it, making snack sticks, gutting it, field care, all that stuff. So look forward to that. And today we're going to get started with some burger. Kitchen, I'll sort of run you quick through the setup. I got a couple of these meat lugs. This is an LEM brand one. This one, I believe, is a Cabela's one. So I got two of those. I got the LEM Big Bite. I believe it's the number 12. It's one of their bigger grinders. This thing's awesome. Well worth the investment. Like I said, got the meat. It's all mostly thawed, a little bit frozen still, which is perfect. This is just how we prepped it up when we quartered them out and stuff last weekend, because it was too warm to hang them, so we had to sort of deal with them right away. So we just took the main cuts out. Most of it went in for trim. I'm going to set you guys up and we're going to sort of go through the whole process. Alright, so like I said, I got everything set up here. I got this grinder put together already, but I'll quick show you sort of how it goes together. In case you're new to this, like I said, this is the LEM, I think it's the Big Bite 12. It's the biggest or the second to biggest grinder they had. If you plan on doing a lot of deer meat, it's well worth the investment to spend the money on a big grinder. This thing really rips. You'll see how quick it can go through this whole lug of meat. But it's just a couple parts. The first part's sort of your top feed tray, so that just clips on there. Then you have your grind tube that hooks on, and here is your big nut that holds your auger and everything in. So it's the nut. Then it's your plate, which I'm going to be using the fine plate today. Then it's your knife. Then it's your actual auger assembly, and you just have a nylon washer on there. If your meat isn't partially frozen, or even if it is, and you have the time, it's good to throw all this stuff in the freezer for a little bit to chill it down, just to keep the heat down in the process. I don't have the time. And my meat's partially frozen, and this grinder actually works so quick that you don't really have to do it. So we're going to throw this thing back together. Alright, so I've got this thing set up with the foot pedal, so it's super easy. I can just come back here. That's engaging my grinder. So that is actually an aftermarket thing that's super nice to do. So I've got all these big bags of trim. It's a lot of sort of larger size cuts. So I'm going to break a couple of them open, dice them up, sort of show you what you're looking for with how much silver skin and sinew and stuff you can leave on there. Some guys swear by getting it all off. I don't really. I've done some experiments over the years of processing my own to see sort of if there is a big taste effect with leaving more versus less. And there's not a whole lot. There's sort of a fine line that you can run, and you'll sort of figure it out on your own as you do it, how much effort you want to put through. Obviously, the more you get off, the better product, but a lot of the time is just of the essence, and I just got to get it done, and I haven't really noticed any issues. Alright, so I got this super awesome big cutting board out that I have, and I'm just going to show you. So this one's still fairly frozen, which is actually going to be good to start with. See if I can get it out of the bag. I'm sure the dogs are going to come join me here shortly as soon as this starts going. But as you can see, it's pretty frozen still, which is just fine. I'm going to sort of try and pull it apart here. And a lot of this is like your shank and a lot of different things like that, so it does have a lot of tissue and sinew on it. So as you can see here, this is a larger piece. So I mean, like these dark or these light, super solid pieces, I'm gonna try and trim off. Some of this fattier stuff I'm gonna try and trim off. But honestly, a lot of that stuff can go through the grinder. The important thing is you get your glands out, you get your glands in the rear and your glands in the front out. That's gonna give you a lot of the gamey taste that you get. And also just meat care in general. Keeping it cold, keeping it taken care of well after the harvest is gonna affect it really the most. So I like to get them gutted and washed out as quick as I can, cooled off on ice if you can, or hung, depending upon the weather. See, like most of this I'm just gonna grind up. It may make some of you guys cringe, but you know, I've been doing it with no issues whatsoever. Sort of trying, if you see a couple hairs, pick them off. But this big bite will grind up all this sinew and you won't even notice. Some of the little grinders will struggle with it. So it also depends on the equipment you have at your disposal. I'm just gonna get this chopped up here. And this is mostly going to be going for like casseroles and that kind of stuff. It's not really going to be straight burger because I'm just going to do a single grind. So I'll show you like a big piece here that I'm cutting off. So this is sort of a big piece of fat that I decided to trim off of there. So here's another big piece. So like the waxy sort of fat stuff, I like to try and trim that off. But like there's all this sinew and stuff in here. We're just going to grind it up. Except for this big piece of fat right here. We're going to cut this off too. Like I said, you can sort of get as aggressive or as lenient on what you send through as you want. So I'm going to get this processed up here quick and get back with you. Alright, so as you can see, I got a pretty decent pile of meat on my board. I've got my clean tote here, which I'm going to grind into, and I've got my pusher stick. This is super important to feed your meat through if it gets clogged. Don't use a wooden spoon. Did that one time. I ground my spoon into my burger. Was not very good. But what I like to do is I just take a bunch of it off my board here, load it up into my feed tray before I get going. On a smaller grinder, obviously you have less of a feed tray, but this is a beefy girl here, so we can get a lot of it loaded up onto there. And this is, like I said, all gonna just be going for like sloppy joes and tacos. What else? Sort of anything that's not gonna be meatloaf. Anything that's not going to be held in a burger form. So I'm just going to do a single fine grind. If you're going to do something held in a burger, it's best to do like a double grind. So do a coarse grind and then a fine grind. You'll get it held together a little bit better. And obviously at that point, if you wanted to add fat or whatever, you can. So I'm going to get my foot pedal arranged over here. So as you can see, I can just activate this with my foot, and it's super easy. Don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear me over this, but if not, I'll throw in some voiceover. So I just get the grinder going, and then just start feeding it through as fast as it will take it. Just sort of use your little plunger to feed. And this is sort of why it's good to have partially frozen meat, because it will feed through there a lot better than completely thawed meat. real time on the whole feed tray, so as you can see it goes pretty quick with this grinder. I'm gonna get to grinding the rest of it. I'm gonna grind it all up and I'll get set up for packing and show you guys how I pack into the meat too. Alright, so this is our final product. We got all that meat ground up. As you can see, it turned out really nice. You can see a little bit of the silver skin and a little bit of the fat mixed in with it. But like I said, you're not gonna have any issues with that as long as you do proper meat care. Cool it off, take your glands out, keep it cool, and keep it cool again. You won't have any off taste. So I've got this whole big lug of meat here, probably 20 pounds. I'm going to show you what I do to wrap it up. I use the game bags. So this is 1,000 pack count. Ooh, they're a little dirty. I'm going to take those ones off. They've been sitting in the cupboard for a minute. So this is 1,000 pack count of these little LEM game bags. They're super awesome. They're about £1 each. And I've got the tying doodad. This is the little doodad that puts the little twisty ends on them. I'm sure you've seen these at the butcher shop if you've ever taken your game in to get processed. So I pretty much just fill those up with this funnel, send them through the little doodad, and then I'll get a big stack of them going here. Once they're all full, I'll start shuttling them over to the freezer. So I'm gonna set you guys back up on the tripod. Oh, I lost you there for a minute. So there's the whole setup. And that's my little bit of trim off of all those bags of burger, or trim to be burger. Alright, so I just got going here on these. What I sort of do is I throw the funnel in there, pinch it around as best I can with my left hand, and with my right hand I just spoon it in. It's not the bestest way, but you get pretty quick at it, and you get good at it. And then when it starts getting full, you sort of squeeze it down and get the air out, and go back to packing. I like to get these pretty full, so they're about £1, or maybe even some of them end up as £1.5, which is perfect for your casserole and your hot dish and your sloppy joes and sort of all the stuff that throughout the year you use your meat for. So once you get them like that, and get as much of the air squeezed out as you can, you give them a spin them tight, and then you send them through there, and it puts the little tie on the bag. Ooh, or at least it should. It's not working great. What's going on here? Sometimes can be a little bit phooey to get this thing going. I'm not quite sure why. Sort of like once you lay it over there, then it ties it good. I might have to look in to see how this thing actually works. So I've never really liked this thing very much, LEM. It's sort of been a love-hate relationship. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it sucks. Right now, it sort of seems to suck. You'll load one, I guess it's sort of working now. But yeah, that's how I do it. The bags are, I think, the most cost-effective way to wrap it, and they stay good for probably about a year before you start seeing a little bit of freezer burn on the outside. I've sort of done it all different ways. I've done it with a vacuum seal, I've done it in Ziploc bags, I've done it in paper. And this is sort of what I've came to as the best operation. Oh, the dog is just, see, now it's working really good. The dog's barking her head off in the background. They're out there playing outside. But yeah, so I've already got 2, 4, 6, 7 pounds of burger going. And we're just gonna keep on chugging. This is gonna take a while. Alright, Alright, so that was quite the process. We got it all packed up here. I haven't counted them yet, but we've got quite a pile of bags here. They all turned out awesome. I really like the bags. And I'm gonna go freeze them up. And once they freeze up, they stack really well, like this. Sort of go across the counter, or across the freezer shelf. So we got this first batch done up. Here's sort of the aftermath. There's a lot of cleanup to be done. But after this, we're ready for another deer. So out of that, this is from 2 deer. This is from the doe. My dad shot in the buck. Our friend shot just the trim meat. We kept the back straps, the roasts, the tenderloins, and the steaks and chops. So this is just sort of all the scrap, front shoulders, neck meat, etc. So you do get quite a bit. Alright, so we got all this done up. It's actually really simple when you start doing it. In the beginning it can be really overwhelming taking on that first deer. So that's why I'm going to sort of make this series and hopefully cover all the information you guys need to know to be able to handle this at your own house. Depending upon the route you go, you can get into it for as little as a couple $100. I've probably got maybe $1,000 into all my processing supplies. Vacuum sealer, knives, grinder, sausage stuffer, etc., etc. But once you invest it, you don't need to spend it again, and it's a good way to continue on after the hunt. Gives you something to do. So I appreciate you guys watching. Be on the lookout for the next episode, and we're probably going to be doing a gut job, hopefully. Hopefully we get a deer here during the daylight, and I can show you a gut, skin, and quarter. Thanks for watching, guys.